children as, quote, a typically false news story. Now there are reports Ivanka Trump is indeed attempting to obtain a clearance. What changed there?
Well, at the time, it was not true. I mean, she wasn't obtaining a security clearance. So it was not accurate then. There was no, I think we addressed it during the transition. An official had actually just inquired. There was no actual attempt at the time. The official in question was removed from the transition team. They had merely made an inquiry into what it would take to get an SF-86 process moving forward. No paperwork was ever drawn, no account was open, and that official was let go. At this time, as I mentioned yesterday, Ivanka has decided to go above and beyond and act in certain ways to ensure that she complies with certain rules by maintaining the Federal Records Act, getting a security clearance so that if she is privy to any information that is classified, she has to abide by the same rules and regulations in terms of being in a room and how it's handled, et cetera. We've taken appropriate measures to do that. I mentioned the statement yesterday, and we'll stick by it.
And a second question on Paul
Yeah.
Manafort. The Associated Press has published a report based on documents that he had a plan to, quote unquote, benefit Vladimir Putin for a client. And with him back in the headlines, I'm just wondering if you still stand by the comment that he had a, quote unquote, limited role in the campaign. And if you could explain a little bit more about how spending months as the campaign's top official is a limited role.
Yeah, thank you. I've tried to avoid commenting. I know I've talked to a lot of you about the individual stories, but I think obviously this one's started to catch a lot of buzz. So to comment briefly on this, I think nothing in this morning's report references any actions by the president, the White House, or any Trump administration official. I think that's got to be clear from the get-go. The report is entirely focused on actions that Paul took a decade ago regarding. He's a former advisor of the campaign, and the actions that came to light this morning are about a client that he had last decade. I know I commented on this the other day, and clearly I should have been more precise with respect to Paul's role. So let me clarify this and kind of go through the facts. Paul was hired to oversee the campaign's delegate operation. He had played a significant role in the convention and delegate operations of 4 previous Republican nominees: Bob Dole, former Presidents George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, and Gerald Ford. And to be clear, he got the job done on the delegates. The president won the Republican nomination after months of speculation after a potentially contested convention. In total, he was involved in the campaign for a total of just under 5 months. He was first hired on March 28th to oversee delegate operations. He was made the chief strategist and campaign chairman on May 19th, and his relationship with the campaign ended on August 19th. The AP story focuses on his activities from the last decade. And to place it in context, Paul represented many foreign clients according to publicly available data in the Caribbean, Asia, Africa, and Europe. His representation of foreign clients is public and similar to the work of Tony Podesta, a Clinton campaign fundraiser whose brother John chaired Hillary Clinton's campaign. Last year, not last decade, Tony Podesta lobbied against sanctions for Russia's largest bank. And John Podesta, Clinton's campaign chair, sat on the board of a Russian-based energy company. This was something tied to Hillary Clinton, who was the face of the failed Russia reset policy. So it's not even close. That's what we're talking about now isn't even close to her most significant role with respect to Russia. As Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, along with the Obama administration, approved a deal that gave Russia 1/5 of America's uranium reserves. Hillary's husband, former President Bill Clinton, received over $500,000 by a paid speech by a bank connected to the uranium deal, and Vladimir Putin personally called the former president and thanked him for giving the speech. So an individual who worked for less than the campaign for 5 months for the president's 2-year-long campaign, who worked with a Russian entity a decade ago, is the subject of rampant media speculation all day long, even though the Clintons had much more expensive and extensive ties. Well, as Secretary of State, Hillary was crafting a policy she said was designed to, quote, strengthen Russia. And to be clear, the president has no personal financial dealings with Russia. His ties are limited to hosting a contest in Russia once and selling a Palm Beach home to a businessman in 2005. That's it. And members of the media trying to conflate Paul's role and activities with Monday's hearing, I have another reminder. Numerous individuals, including former Obama Director of National Intelligence James Clapper and acting CIA Director Mike Morrell, and members of the Intelligence Committee from both parties, who have been briefed have said across the board that they have seen zero evidence of any collusion